That's right. Reporting in progress. This is the Chuck Bryant Show Unplugged, where we answer or have the artist answer the hard questions. That's right. The hard questions. It may make them sweat. So they need to go get a tissue for their issue before there's an issue. And I want to say it like I always say, are you ready for this? So today on the video chat with us, of course, via Zoom, is a fantastic artist across the county. No, it's not across the county line. It's it's not across the state line. It's across the country line over into Canada. Debbie, it is so great to have you on our show today here on the Chuck Bryant Show Unplugged, where we ask you all the hard questions. Tell us a little bit about you and about your ministry.
Well, it started actually years and years ago with just starting to sing, and my aunt setting up a mic and a little amp in our living room and saying, "Sing, Debbie, sing," and that started the fire. Going to it was a little tiny country church that I used to attend when I lived on Vancouver Island. And
wow.
That's how God got me through music. I fell in love with it, and that's how he spoke to me. And so that's where it all kind of evolved from. And my dad worked away most of my childhood, and mom would play the piano, and she would play all the hymns that she grew up listening to at the same church that I used to go to. And that was how our evening, recreation, I guess you'd say, is singing and playing. And I had he's passed on now, but my brother, I had a handicapped brother, and my sister, and mom. So we would sing harmonies, and it was wonderful. It was a wonderful way to grow up. And then I guess I went to nursing school after I graduated. I was singing in nursing school, and the dream, I guess, started when I was a kid to go to work my way to Nashville. That all kind of changed. I got married and I had my children, but always I was I am a country girl. I will always be a country girl. I love that way of life. But always having gospel in my sets. But I had something happened. I moved out to Alberta, and I don't know if it's from a former accident or whatever, but I started having back issues,
Right.
and I couldn't physically do it, go out. But what I could do, I started having my getting hired on to do some gospel festivals out here, and
Awesome.
also put on my own gospel concerts. And the God has always been there, and He's always given me songs. And I thought, okay, I would write them, and I thought, always using them, and but it was this door that opened up, and He said to me, "It's time now." And I had been writing all these years and recording them, and I thought, you know what? Yeah, this is the time for me. I think that He wanted me to get out there and share what He'd shared with me. And I was afraid to do it, to be honest with you. Like, that
Oh,
timing thing.
I know. Let me tell you something. I know that this is not what I wanted to do, and I'll tell you this. This is not. I envy you that, for one, that you growed up where a family was into music and was into church. I didn't have that. We growed up. I'm not going to say that we had um a good childhood, because mom and dad was together. They're now gone to being with Jesus.
Mhm.
My dad got hurt when I was 10 years old in a farming accident. So the country, I know. But see, I was raised in the city. and take a child that had been raised half his life in the city and take him to the country. You would think, oh man, that's so great. You get out and see all the woods and stuff. I miss the sound of the city. And it did. And to me, I felt like that I'd been in New Orleans, I'd been to Wilmington, North Carolina, I've been to Tulsa, Oklahoma, I've been to Kentucky, or not Kentucky, I've been to Texas, and you put me in all these big cities. And these are all big cities I'm talking about, New Orleans and stuff. And then you take me to a little bitty place called Ohio, which Ohio is not real small, but the town that I'm in probably has more than five or 600 people in it. You've got a high school, and then you go up to the next city where your sister's at, but you can't have anything to do with her because your parents won't let you. And that was from my dad's previous marriage. Well, me and my sister are like best buds. We're on Facebook every night. I tell her how much I love her. She tells me how much I love her. But I never did get that mindset to country.
Yeah.
I was always in the city. Yeah. And we moved up here to Georgia in 84. And I got the real taste of a small town, which Dalton's not really a small town because it's carpet capital of the world. But I envy you because one of the things, and it's when I talk to all artists, how they got started. It was a guitar, it was a love of music, a microphone, just like what you said with a microphone. Me, I didn't have any of that. I got into rock and roll. My grandmother told me that I was going to church. I told her I wasn't going to church. And I mean, I'm the grandson of a Baptist minister in the 40s and the 50s. So this is in my blood, but I don't want it. My grandfather, he said that God will punish the body to save the soul. That's the way he meant it. And do I believe my grandfather's in heaven? Oh my gosh, most definitely. But there was some things that Grandpa did that I didn't agree with. And that's another story for another time.
Yeah.
But he had made a promise to God that I was going to be where I'm in today. I didn't want it. I ran the marathon. I think I may have ran around the world once or twice trying to get away from this industry that I was supposed to be in. And I mean, I've had a great career. I spent treating water treatment, where the water that you drink at home. I treated it for over 8 years. I did it here in Dalton. And then I went down to Florida and I did it in the city of Fort Myers, in the county and the city. And then I got hurt, just like anybody else has, with the back, and I couldn't run up and down the stairs no more. So I went to school, learned how to be a computer technician, and I loved working on computers. I loved doing everything about it. But the one thing that my grandmother did when I was 15, or not 15, when I was 18, she told me I was going to church one morning. And I said, oh, no, I'm not. Well, guess what happened? I wound up in church. I got saved. And this quest of becoming what my grandfather had visioned me to be was. Well, I got out of church, didn't want to do this preaching thing. I ran from it. A cousin of mine said, this is, you don't want this. Hit those doors and run and never come back. This is and the way he put it, that being a preacher was a burden. And so I didn't want it. And then I had a buddy of mine that I worked with. His name's Nicky. And Nicky had told me, come on, let's go party. Let's go party. And we went and partied. And so I thought life was just a party. So that's all I did. And then that same friend that showed me how to party called me and he said, I did such a thing, Chuck. I should have never done this. When you were in God, I should have went with you. And he brought me back. And I realized this last week because my good friend Nicky he's battling leukemia or that cancer, or however how you pronounce it. But anyway, it touched me. It touched me the other morning when I was talking to his wife, and I said, "Tell him whenever he gets up, I want to come and see him. I want to pray for him." And so, as an evangelist, as a lot of people don't know, they just think I do. I say that I am a pastor. I do run what God's allowed me to do. This is God's ministry. This is not my ministry. I work for God. And I'm proud to have a boss as such as good as a savior and stuff. And he's the mighty king. He's the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, and won't ever change that. But the one thing that it is having a family that supports you in the music ministry as what you have. And Debbie, you've got a beautiful voice. You
Yep.
really, really do. And
Thank you.
it's a blessing. It's a blessing to hear you when you sing.
Thank you.
So what is the latest project you're working on right now?
I've been writing like crazy. COVID has really kept well, everybody around the world, but he's just been giving me songs like crazy, and so I'm prepared now to like where I go to record. It's out. I live in Alberta. The next province over is called British Columbia, and I've worked with Peter Kilgore, is his name, for over 20 years. And he and I, oh, it's amazing. Very connected on the mindset on how and what I like to record. And I am just chomping at the bit. I want to get out there. I've got so many songs that I'm ready to record. And so that's my next kind of project, is when I can do this. We're still have quite a few restrictions because the COVID is seeming to bring its ugly head back up again. We're having to have more restrictions in place, and the next province over, British Columbia, oh my gosh, on fire. There's fires everywhere.
Yeah, well, and you speaking of fires, California, poor California, and Idaho and Washington.
Yeah.
We had an artist that was down here with us. I was looking around to see if I still had his CD. Here, I got it here somewhere. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I've got so many laying out here.
I guess.
Yeah, they're everywhere. But anyway, so the thing of it is, he was there, and I want to say, I don't want to say his name and mess it up. So I'm double checking. But anyway, we're going to move on with that. But anyway, he came down with my good buddy, Marty Smith. Have you heard of Marty Smith before?
Yes. I've never met him, but I've known him over the computer for years. He's wonderful.
Well, Marty is my best friend. I guess you knew that. Me and Marty
I
are
didn't
like,
know that.
Yeah, Marty and I with Heaven's Country and the WOTG. If you've listened to him in the morning when he goes WOTG Radio Network and Heaven's Country, well, Marty and I created the WGHC TV, and that stands for WOTG and Heaven's Country TV Network. And then we also in June, I don't do anything that I don't include Marty in. I mean, to me, and I'll tell you a little story about Marty. 2016, Donna got sepsis, and you being a nurse, sepsis is a bad thing.
Yeah.
It kills more people than COVID does. It's the silent killer. Okay. Kills more people than heart disease, kidney disease, or anything else, because COVID is bad.
Yeah.
Sepsis is worse. And I mean, you can get on the ventilator, you can come back. You get sepsis, and if you don't get to the hospital now, well, let's say it's just like COVID. I don't want to say that it's not. Both of them are deadly. But if you get that blood disease, yeah. I've seen people come to the hospital. I'm fine. I'm just not feeling good. And then 2 hours later, they're dead. Yeah. And it's kind of like COVID, because if you get it today and you don't get to the hospital and start the treatment with the antibiotics and stuff, you're going to meet the maker. Well, anyway, in 2016, Donna came home from work, and she says, I don't feel good. What's your symptoms? She started telling me, and I'm on the phone with Marcia Sue Mitchell and Marty. And I said, hey, Marcia, can I call you back? I need to talk to Marty. Hung up the phone, called Marty back. I said, hey, Marty, I said, I don't know what's going on. I said, can you talk to Donna? He said, sure. And he talked to him. He goes, hey, darling, what's going on? He was telling them symptoms. You got to go to the hospital. You got to go now. You can't play.
Yeah.
And Marty says, Chuck, I don't know what she's got. I don't know what's going on, but she is shutting down. This is what's happening. And she couldn't go to the bathroom. Not going to put the picture out there, And so she goes to the hospital. This is December 2016. And her world's changed. She's never the same.
No.
We move up here and she files for her disability. We get it by God's grace. We didn't have to do a whole lot of waiting. God took care of her. 2019, I was sick and didn't fill out the insurance papers correctly. I had everything else for major medical. October 2019, Donna falls in the shower. Donna's had sepsis bad this time, worse than the last time.
Oh,
last time they were able to put her in the unit, feed her with antibiotics and everything. This time we got to put her in an induced coma to where the coma. So I come into the emergency room and the doctor says, I need to talk with you. We need to put your wife on the ventilator and I put her in a induced coma. I mean, you can call it whatever you want, but that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, we got a long road. And I said, when we talked the next morning, me and Marty, I'm sitting out about 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. Marty calls me. What's going on? How's it going? Marty and I, for another hour, were sitting there praying with one another, crying. Mm-hmm. That's the type of friend I've got. You know, and
he's amazing.
he is. And a lot of people don't know that he's an ordained minister.
I didn't know that either.
Yes, ma'am. He is. And so am I. And the thing about it is the two bonds together. I was talking to Pastor J.R. Frankfurt from Wiley, Texas, down in Texas. And when he called me this afternoon, and he'll probably call me on his way home and stuff. But anyway, it's the type of friendships that you have right there that is a bond.
Yeah.
And we have been together for a long time. We've been together since 2016. We started the year off and we have been friends every year. This was the first time when we did the interview, when he came to the studio, when he was doing his programs that he talks about that they've got up there in Nashville that they did with Bev McCam and the Positive Cowboy.
Right.
And Barry White was down there with him, and he plays Barry on the radio quite often. So do we. And anyway, I couldn't think of Barry's. I think it's Barry Lee White, as I think is his name. And Barry, if I got it wrong, please don't be mad at me. But anyway, they came to the studio, and that was the first time that after being with Marty for over 5 years, you get to meet your brother. And it was just for a few minutes, an hour and a half that we did the interview. And he's such a great guy. He's such a great guy. He's got a passionate for God. He's got a passionate for Christian country music. And I believe that he's a Hall of Famer. I believe that, when you see all these awards and everything else, I believe he's a Hall of Famer. He's a legend. I tell him he's a living legend. He said, I don't know all about that, but I tell him every time I talk to him on the phone. So you got these projects that you've got going. What is going to happen in 2022 when hopefully Delta, the Siberian COVID, or whatever you want to call the next flavor of COVID? It's kind of like churches. You got all these different flavor of Baptist churches, Church of God, Assemblies of God, you name it, they're all over the place. And yep. it's like my video that I did this morning. I woke up in the middle of the night and I heard a pastor say that, whether you, if you come to my church wearing a mask, we're going to escort you out.
I saw that.
And boy, God hit me with that this morning. And I normally, Debbie, I normally don't preach anymore. I'm too busy working on the network. But when God gets a hold of me and wants me to do this, I got to speak what he tells me. And this morning I was here's me. I don't want nobody to kick me off Facebook. I have worked so hard to get where I'm at and everything else. But God says, if you lose one or two, you get kicked off of Facebook. You look where we're at and look how far we've came, and don't worry about the rest. He said, let me take care of the haters and the doubters. So I got out there.
I totally agreed with you. I look at Christianity, and I look at I don't know how to say this. I don't want to offend either, but the business of church and the rules and regulations. And I look at Jesus and I think he had sandals, he had a robe, he was probably dirty. And that's what a believer, you don't kick somebody out for the way they look.
Right.
It's what's in their heart. And they want, if they come to your church, then they want to hear the words, right?
Right.
And
Well,
I thought, how could they do that?
here's the thing. We're fishermen of men and women. Okay. If you come to my church, whether you come to my broadcast, if you come to my radio station, if I had a church, I would not turn anyone away.
Yeah.
I've seen so many times where I heard the story, and it's like what I talked about this morning. It's the man that came to church and he smelled, and the pastor told him, go and pray about how you should come to church. Okay, I understand there's certain things that you got to do when you come to church. And when people don't want to be out there on the street, they don't.
Nope.
Something's happened in their life. Now, there's some people that's the way of life. They know where to go stay. They know how to do it. They love it. But there's other people that, with this pandemic here in the United States, and I was watching the news yesterday. There's a woman that lost her home because the people that she was renting to couldn't afford to pay their rent, and the government says you're okay. But the woman that owns the property, well, now she can't. She's living on the street. And she says, I can't even kick the person out of the house to be able to get my house because I've got property. And so it's crazy. But the thing about it is that as we walk as Christ, we should allow that person to come into the church. And if, he needs a bath, let him take a shower. The church I used to work at, we had a bathroom. We had a full shower.
Yeah.
Because you never know what's going to happen when you're at church. And this is an old church that I was a youth pastor at. The church that I worked at was started in 1955.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, that's older than I am. I mean, I'm a couple of 100 years old, but that's beyond the point. But we give him a bath, let him shower up, and the preacher was really proud of me. But in the story of the story is the pastor, everybody in the church was all been out of shape because he came to the church. Pastor goes, how did you like the sermon? I said, I liked it pretty good. He said, pray about how you should come to church. Number one that gets me with this saying is, why should I pray on how I should come to church? And the thing about it is this, we have got such a climate that we forget about the Father. And just like you said, he wore sandals, he wore his clothing that he had. And I'm sure, when he got a chance to go to the river, but a lot of the times they were walking in the desert.
That's right.
And an oasis is, an oasis. We've seen the pictures of over there. We've seen the pictures of, Iraq and Afghanistan. And a lot of that was not what it is today. Back in the day, that was all where everybody went, the Campbells and stuff. But anyway, the moral of the story is, if Jesus came knocking on the door to go to your church, would you let him in?
I got to ask you something, Chuck.
Yes.
Like I say, that's how God got me, through music. And I'll never forget this one song. It just wham! It was just touched me and moved me. And it was by Colin Ray. And it's a song called What If Jesus Comes Back Like That?
Wow.
It's so powerful. And you know what? Ever since I've heard that song, that's what I think when I meet people. Who knows how Jesus will come back? We've got to treat everybody with respect and love. We don't know who they are. You have no idea. And
you never know when you're going to be entertaining an angel.
Exactly. And you know what, I was saying this actually happened. One evening, or not evening, it was 4 o'clock in the morning, and my doorbell rang. And I lived in a little place called Hope, and it was way off the street, and dark. There's no lights out there, no street lights. It's country. And the doorbell went, and I thought I was dreaming, but then it went again, and so I ran to the door, and this man was standing there, big burly guy, and I'm looking, and I wasn't afraid, but it kind of concerned, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, "Can I use your phone?" And I said, "Do you know it's 4 o'clock in the morning?" And he said, "Well," he says, "my truck broke down." He's a semi truck driver, and he'd been walking for a long ways. And I said, "Well, give me the number and I'll call your dispatcher." So we got everything lined up for the man. And afterwards, I thought, why did he choose our place? Because it's so far off when there was other places closer to the road, you know? So kind of, you're pondering this, and it happened again in the daytime. Another truck driver broke down, and he had come to my door and asked to use the bathroom. And I thought, no, I can't let a stranger in to use my bathroom. I'm alone here.
Yeah.
And then after I said no, I felt bad. So
Right.
I
Right.
made him some coffee, and I took him a plate of cookies and stuff, and knocked on his door kind of sheepishly. And I said, "Geez, I'm sorry I couldn't let you in." I said, "It's this time, the day and age, it's scary." I
Right.
said, "But," I said, "here, take this." And so we started talking, and the poor fella, he was just a young fella. And he said, "This is my first run. I just bought the truck." And he took off from, say, out of Vancouver, and he only made it as far as Hope, which a couple hours. And so he's telling me his story, and I just felt so bad. And then, I thought, well, I hope I've helped him enough that he can realize maybe if he ever came by again, I'd know who he is.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm going, why did he choose my house? Like there was other houses closer to the road. And that song always came back to my mind. What if Jesus comes back like that?
Mhm.
Like it could be a truck driver. It could be it
We
could be
don't never
anybody.
know. We never know who it is.
Never know.
And you mentioned that is back in 2016. I had just purchased, and earlier part of the year, I purchased my first brand new car.
Oh,
I am
yummy.
50 and I get to purchase my first new car, and I'm really happy with it. And it was a Saturn. It was not a Saturn. It was a Soul.
Oh, yeah.
And I loved that. I had the little hamsters, driving around on the inside. I used to say, I love the car, but I
Yeah.
used it for ministry. And I've been to Oklahoma. I've been all over the United States in my car. And I first got it, and I was going. Me and Donna had ordered something from Chili's, and I'm a big fan of the seafood pasta that they
Mm.
do at Chili's. I love their seafood pasta. I'm from New Orleans. What more can you do being from Louisiana? So I was going down to the restaurant to go get mine and Donna something to eat. And as I'm pulling up, I'm looking over and I see this young man under the underpass of US 19 in Florida. They're in the Tampa Bay area outside of St. Pete called Largo. And I see this guy, he's in the middle of the underpass. There where the bridge is over, he's in the underpass, and I'm going this way to the store. And I look at that, and God says, "Feed me." And so I knew exactly what it was mean to say, "Feed me." So I went over to Chili's. I got my food, and I told Tracy, she was the manager there. And I said, "Tracy, would you do me a favor?" I said, "There's a gentleman out here underneath the bridge. And I know I normally don't ask y'all this, but will you fix me an extra hamburger? I'm not asking you to give me anything. I'll pay for it."
Mm-hmm.
And she's sure. So she came back, and I ordered those little White Castle burgers that they have at Chili's. They're a little small. And I don't, if you know what White Castle is, it's a little bitty hamburger. They're what we call them gut bombs down here in Georgia because we got crystals, but they're little bitty hamburgers
Okay.
with little bitty buns. And I ordered him 8 of them. And I said, can you give me an order of fries? And she went and looked and see what she had in the vat. And the vat is, a restaurant can't leave French fries in the vat. So she dumped and cooked him some fresh and put in that case all the French fries out
Oh,
of the
wow.
vat and fixed him some fresh.
Yeah.
And I ordered him a water, and she done better than that. We give him a bottle of Dascani water and the water from the restaurant in the big cup.
Right
So
on.
I run that over, and I paid for the food, ran it over, and I pulled up, went all the way around, came back around, and I forgot to get our food. So I give him his food, and I said, "Hey, brother, I know you're cold out here." I said, "I got a good hot meal for you. I got you some water." And he goes, "Thank you, thank you." He said, "I'm so hungry." And Debbie, as I came back around the bridge to go get mine and Donna's food tray, and I paid for it and left it sitting there. And so I came
No.
back, and Debbie and Tracy said, "Chuck, you forgot your food." And I said, "Yeah, I'm here." I said, "I was so excited about go giving this guy this food.
Yeah.
I just plain forgot my food." And as I was going back, there was no sign of him. There was no sign of the water. There was no sign of the food. So I don't know if he was an angel or anything else. But the time is that how do we look at God in an instant is that we don't know that if we're entertaining Jesus, just like with you talking about that. And I remember as a child when we lived on the farm in Ohio, we would have people come up, "Hey, can you give me some water?" And sure, I was a kid. I go get, we had the cistern right outside. I just go pump the thing a couple and fill their water jugs up. They would sit there. "Can you fix us something to eat?" So I'd run in and tell mom, I said, "We got some visitors that are coming through." And she goes, "Well, what do they need?" And they said, "Can fix them a peanut butter sandwich or something." Mom said, "Yeah." So I'd fix them a sandwich. Some would be young teenagers walking. Now we're talking in the 70s. And they were coming through, and I was little at that time. And they'd come through, grab the water, grab the food, and went on their business. And you never thought nothing about this. Today, you'd be really scared about the way the world is.
Absolutely.
And it's a crazy world. And so one of the things is with your music. You've got a Christmas album that you got done, right?
Yes.
And so we're going to be playing that very soon here on the network. So I'm so excited. And so what are some of the songs that inspired you as you're writing them? Some of your songs that's got a story behind them.
Oh,
I told you I was going to ask the hard question.
Well, the Power, the single I've got out right now, I wrote that years ago. And it's when I was living in Hope. And I would have to drive between Hope and Chilliwack, which is the next biggest town down the valley. And I would be driving in this one spot, and it always impressed me. And something made me I was in awe of what I saw. And I went, man, God is amazing. Look what he's done. Look what he's made. And I've always been very much appreciate the nature and I just see his work everywhere. I think he's a master artist. And I'm looking at this, and I felt him talking to me, and I'm looking at the mountain, and I'm just going, oh wow, and the magnitude, the power of what he's created. And that started that actual word was stuck with me, and I just kept going back and visualizing what I saw and thinking, wow, what he's made, the world, what he's made for us. I'm in awe of it. And so this song evolved from that moment on the highway, looking at that mountain and appreciating everything I saw around me. And it was an amazing moment in my life. And I see and feel every time when I get to that spot on the highway, I feel very close to God. I do a lot of talking to God in that time.
That's I used to call it when I would do the long trips. because I used to run a computer company in Florida.
Oh yeah.
And I used to run from Tampa to Fort Myers because I used to live in Fort Myers and Cape Coral, and I built a really nice computer business. But I always loved Tampa Bay. There's something about St. Pete,
Yeah.
Clearwater, and that area down there, and I really liked it. And the only reason we wound up in Georgia is because Donna had a real bad panic attack in 2017 when Irma was coming up through the
Oh.
Keys, and it hit us directly, and she had a real bad attack,
Mm-hmm.
and I almost lost her. I mean, that's how bad it was. She was in the hospital overnight.
Wow.
And she says, I don't care what we got to do. I'm out of here. I'm done. And so we moved up here. I was tired of hurricanes because I lived down through there. I seen Charlie. I seen Katrina. I seen Rita. I seen Wilma. I can keep on going on the list of how many times we've had to evacuate and stuff. And, and the first year we moved up here, Michael came up through Georgia in 2018. And I thought, Lord, I thought I moved enough up north, but I come to realize these things do come across the land.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So we're at a point in the crossroads that you have the time that you have been putting together your new project and stuff. So what lies ahead for you in 2022?
What I'm hoping is if my health improves with that and we can cross the borders again, I'm starting to look at getting physically getting out to be able to do some performing concerts, that type of thing, more recording for sure. I really feel that he's given me something to say and I'm excited about it.
Amen.
So it's I'm just truly can't wait. Things that I've done that I'm so happy that I was directed to do it. A friend of mine has a foundation called Innocence Lost.
Right.
And I think this was God that did this again, because I wouldn't have thought about it, to be honest.
Yeah.
But they asked me to write a song for their foundation, and it's all about rehabilitation of child soldiers and in Africa, Sierra Leone, Africa.
Okay.
And anyway, the song came to me, and I've never done anything like that before. But anyway, the song came out, and I'm here, there in Vancouver, and sang it over the phone. And is this something, what you were thinking of? And we love it. Oh, well, that's great. So record it out here, and then sent it out there. And then I flew out. I performed it live for their kind of debut of the foundation. And then a couple of other times I've flown out and performed it, but they actually, it was an honor and a big, huge blessing. They've used the song as their anthem for their foundation.
Praise
so I'm
God.
going, that's what he wants me to do. I wrote a song for missing, murdered women. Yeah, I mean, it's worldwide, but in Canada here, it's was kind of disjointed, if you know what I mean. Like, this town or province would have a number and this one, and they never amalgamated until the year I got involved in it. And at that time, and this is quite a few years now, there were over 4,000 women and kids missing and murdered. And I cried. I cried and cried. I thought, these are loved ones. Somebody, is missing them. And anyway, I was given the words. I wrote them. I sang it. I presented it to them. They loved it. They took it with them on their annual march to Ottawa from Vancouver.
Oh, wow.
Long way to go.
Yes, it is.
And they had seminars, planned seminars along the way, and they would present the song, and then they would do their seminar. All I wanted to do was help. That was my thing. I can do it. I was given this gift. He gives me the words. If it helps, great. That's what I think I'm meant to do. So it's a blessing to me. It's
Amen.
sometimes painful to write it, but it is a
But
blessing.
look at the outcome of the song that you did, what it would do.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping that I can do to help others that need it, you know.
Yeah.
Um, there's the SPCA, BCSPCA, I love animals, asked me if they could use one of my songs. And I, of course, wanted to help. So I said yes. And the home, I I did shows. I haven't done them since for quite a few years because with the move and everything, it's in Vancouver. But I did them for 5 years, and we would go down to Vancouver into kind of the not the best part of town, and there's a place called the Living Room, and the for Christmas, we put on a big, huge turkey dinner, the full turkey dinner. And so you'd get down there, help with that. And then after that, put on a Christmas show for everybody, anybody and everybody that attended. And I'll tell you, I think I got more out of it. I was so happy to do it, but
Right.
it was an amazing thing. I got to meet and talk to so many people and hear their stories. I got to sit down and talk, and it's amazing. If you take the time to do that, not just go, oh, no, stay away, but hear their stories. There's some of them are so sad as to why they're there.
Mm-hmm.
Some, it's each got their own story. And I was just felt very blessed I got to do it. That to me was huge. So I've done that. I've done a lot of projects that I thought needed or could use my help.
Right.
And so yeah, that's what I kind of do.
Well, it's been a blessing to have you on the program.
Thank you.
And don't let this be the first time.
I'd love to come back and see you.
You're more than welcome. I have joined this so much. And the thing about one of the things that about doing what I do is you get to see and hear about the stories about where you've come from and where you are now. And people don't realize that in ministry, it's a rough road. Yeah. And people see you come up on stage and you sing all your hits and everything else. And it was like I was on a chat the other night with a gospel group. People don't realize that the pain and the suffering it is, and it's just like running this ministry. If everything ran fine, man, I'm great. But there's times that you're scratching your head, pieces of software, and you're going, Lord, why did I get into this? I've worked on computers and I got paid for them, and I ain't getting paid for this and stuff. But Deb, we'd like to invite you back, maybe after the first of the year, see what God has done. Maybe you come and be a part of our virtual Christmas tour that we're going to be doing.
Oh, that's awesome.
And sing some songs from me and Marty, because Marty and I are going to be doing a virtual concert every Saturday while he's doing the Triple C at sea. I'm probably, me and him's going to be doing from Cleveland to Durango with our show that we're going to be doing in the near future. Deb, again, it's a pleasure. And one of the things that I like to ask is when we get done with one of our interviews, I always like the person coming on to close us in prayer. Aww. Now, in church, and when you get done with a sermon or you get done singing or they're just done, they always like to close it in prayer. And I believe that's one of the things that I've been doing here lately that has blessed me and our ministry. And we hope you major success with this new album that you're working on. And we hope that this COVID will shut down like you're cutting down the grass and you can get across the border. So if you would you please close us in prayer, Debbie?
Yes. Dear Father, I have to thank you for the path that you're leading me on, the people I'm meeting, such as Chuck Bryant and Marty Smith, and so many the others that have just opened their doors and their hearts and to share the music that God has been sharing with me. I pray for all the people with COVID. Uh, it's such a terrible, terrible disease, and I pray that you are able to put your hands on them and just rid of this this disease. For anybody that is dealing with illnesses and that, please recognize and put your hands on them and heal them of their disease. I thank you for all the blessings along my path and the gifts and the talents. I appreciate and I am honored you chose to let me share. Uh, Thank you to everybody that that is in my path, and the lessons I've learned, even those have been so valuable as well. And to everyone out there, love and blessings. Amen.
Amen. Well, again, thank you again, Debbie, for stopping by and taking time. Hang on just one second. Hey, you've been listening to the Chuck Bryant Show Unplugged, where we asked you the hard questions. You may want to go get you a tissue for your issue before it becomes an issue. Until next time, you ready for this? This is the Chuck Bryant signing off, and may God bless you in everything that you do. And remember, tell somebody that God loves them. Until next time, we'll see you then.